Stop talking. Hey, welcome to the Alieums After Show, the show that comes on after that show about aliens. Even though this week they didn't have any aliens, so that's fine. I am Colleen, one of your hosts.
I'm Ben, the other one of the hosts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just been basically forced to watch the show. I feel like I'm really the one with the
You are a
knowledge.
long-term
Long-term.
historic fan
Yeah.
with an encyclopedic knowledge of the show. I'm somebody who's watched them recently and enjoys television and is an actual scientist.
Yeah. I've also, you might know some of my, yeah, he is an actual scientist, so he is actual Scully.
That's what I have. That's what I'm bringing to the table.
Whom I married. He's a scientist, and his last name is Tully. So close. So close to Scully.
So in your conversations, do you often drop, like, I am a scientist in the middle?
No,
he
it's
doesn't.
like purely
Unlike
for...
Scully, who's constantly like,
I'm not
I'm a
gonna
medical
lie,
doctor.
I've hung out with him. He does that.
Right.
Nah,
I imagine,
about
like, you're
that.
making
Nah,
brownies
about
and you're
that.
like, is it one egg or two? Well, I think it's one, and I am
And
a
then
scientist.
Yeah.
You might know some of my work as The X-Files Abridged, in which I have recapped every single episode of The X-Files using some of these wonderful dolls here on the
Action
table.
figures.
/ action figures.
Definitely action
That's
figures.
fine.
This one's a doll, though.
This one is a doll. It's a very tiny baby. It's super weird. And it plays, that's William.
Baby William.
Yep. Over here we have a couple of reoccurring guests, I guess, at this point.
Yes.
We have Tony, who's
a three-timer.
Yeah.
He's
and a
off
two-timer.
The grid. He's off
I am
the
off
grid.
the grid.
Yeah. So you
Yeah.
can't find him
Tony
anywhere. His name's
with
Tony.
a pony.
Yeah, you can walk around LAX and just scream my name. It'll go well.
Yeah. Yeah. And over here is Marc.
Hello. This is my second time on
This is
this.
Marc's second time.
Marc's second time.
Marc knows stuff about magic,
The Gathering.
the gathering,
Both kinds of magic.
and like
Let's
spiritual.
be serious here. Yeah.
Spiritual stuff.
Yeah, that's why I really like Reyes.
Agent Reyes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want
She's
to?
kinda
Do you want to give us a little
mystical.
throwdown of like why you're awesome and on the podcast?
Prove your worth.
Yeah.
Well, check out this shirt.
Yeah,
It's
right.
cool.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
got
I
a
think you
shirt
should
on.
prove your worth
Yeah.
only through
T-shirts?
Reyes quotes.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
So
can
my
you do it?
sister, no, but because my sister always she hates Reyes,
Good.
and
What?
she always
AKA
quotes
Lady
her.
Mulder, AKA
Yeah.
Femi Mulder.
I like
People call her
Femolder.
Femi.
I like
Femi Mulder.
I like
but
Femolder.
Femolder's
Femolder.
good.
Because
Yeah.
she's like
Yeah.
a fake Mulder
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
also
yeah,
that,
yeah.
That'd be like
Folder.
Folder?
Folder.
Folder. Oh, Folder. She is kind of flat and
I
boring.
like Folder.
No.
With FAUX.
I disagree.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
Faux Mulder.
Folder.
Yeah.
But either way, my sister does not like her at all, and will always try and make fun of her through quotes. But for some reason, she gives her a lisp, and I don't know why. And so every time she's like, "Oh, hey guys, let's go over here," and so now whenever I think of her and I picture Reyes, I
You
picture
picture
her
her
with
with a
this
lisp.
voice that she just doesn't have
I
at all.
like to
And then I
voice
watch
her
the
because she's
episode,
very
it's fine.
yoga teacher to me. So
Ah.
it's like, oh my god, what? Like it's, oh.
See, and
Hey,
I
watch
always,
out for the
Watch out.
aliens
I
over
always
there.
envision
Watch
her
out.
like
Good.
Thanks. I'm trying my
begging
best.
Martin Sheen to let her husband run for this
Mm.
state senate or something.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
the West Wing?
Yeah.
Super
Yeah.
old school
There you
Reyes.
Which let it be known.
A Bartlett daughter.
Yeah, Catherine, well, she had not seen the X-Files, but kind of West Wing was her X-Files.
Sure.
And so when we were watching this year, every one of those reoccurring character actors
It's
kept
like,
being
"What?"
one episode of West Wing, name the West Wing episode
Yeah.
like this,
That's
so,
me
yeah.
with X-Files. I'm watching something and I go,
Exactly.
who's that? Oh, that guy was on X-Files.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we are here to talk about the X-Files.
You don't want to
tonight's-
pimp out your podcast
I mean, we
or anything?
could.
Or
Not yet.
You want to do that later?
We'll do it later.
I have a
Alright.
podcast.
Yeah,
Cool.
he does.
All right, don't worry
We'll
about
talk
it.
about it later.
Yeah.
You got to tune in
Yeah.
to find out.
Yeah,
That's the
we're
gem.
all
That's the
on the edge
gem.
of our seat.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be great.
So tonight's episode was by Glen Morgan, who is one of the kind of founding fathers, I would say,
Sure.
of
Yeah.
the X-Files.
Yeah.
Him and James Wong, who also wrote episode 2, Founder's Mutation, used to write together.
Yeah.
And now they are separate, but equal.
Did they have a falling out?
I don't think they had a falling out.
I think they're
still
just
working
both,
together. I
like,
think they're just like, we got
Supreme
older.
experts at their
Yeah.
craft now.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're like, we could do it
They
on
also
our
get
own.
paid more if they write by
Yeah,
themselves.
honestly,
right?
I
Also
think
money.
that
Also money.
But
is
if like
legit.
Vince was back and they needed a slot, they'd have to write together next year.
Maybe. They're like, we
They'd have
need...
to. It's like there's like a hierarchy in the House of X Files, and like
Yeah.
if Uncle Vince comes back, you guys got to bunk in the room together, and they're always like, "Ah," but they really secretly like it.
Yeah.
Like the
Right,
lights
right.
go down,
Uncle
and
Vince
they
is everyone's favorite uncle.
they goof
for
off.
Sure. So
Some absurd.
Glen Morgan is known for kind of helping to birth the idea, or at least the regular occurrence of Monsters of the Week episodes.
Yeah.
Which are kind of the one-off standalones, as some of us call them. And he has written. He's also Darren Morgan's brother.
Sure.
Lesser known brother. His brother only wrote like 5 episodes, and Glenn wrote like 15 or 20 or something, and everyone's like, "Oh, Darren." But
I don't know if you can call him lesser known.
Yeah.
I think most people hear Morgan, they think of Darren. They don't think of Glenn. Sadly.
Okay, and you're saying among the group of X-Files,
Right.
Like
among the
writers.
people watching.
Among
Files.
the people. Among the
Just
people.
files.
Yeah.
Files.
So some of his favorite,
folders.
some of his
Files.
top stuff was, especially early on, they had some really good ones. Squeeze was one of the ones.
Still scares Colleen to this day.
Still,
It's
I
great.
think as far as the monsters that he has created, that one is my, I guess, favorite, even though I still legit have a hard time watching that episode at night because of the glowing eyes. They freak me out. That's the one with the guy who like lives, he hibernates for 30 years and he steals people's livers.
5 livers.
He has to eat 5 livers, nom 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 nom, and then he can go to sleep for 30 years and he like doesn't age. And we actually have, I pulled up some poster.
Oh,
There's some
sweet.
fan made.
Nice.
There's another project by a fan called the X-Files.
Actually
poster
commissioned
project.
by Fox. He gets
Actually-
paid to do these.
Well, I don't know if he gets paid, but he gets acknowledged by Fox.
Mhm.
It's called the X-Files poster project, and he made a poster for every episode, and he did it in different styles. And Squeeze was one of them. Nuts Beyond the Sea. That's another one.
which will probably
We'll
get
get
referenced
to.
Which
later.
is a
in the
There's
great
Squeeze.
episode. Oh, nope, that's not Squeeze. That's
Is it?
Die Hand Diverlets, I believe. That one's Squeeze.
I just like that.
Beyond
Like they're going.
development.
I can tell which one it. Yeah, so that one's Squeeze because it's got the bar with the eyes. His eyes glowed this like yellowy green,
Yeah.
and it freaks me the hell out every time, and I have a hard time watching it at night.
Are you just afraid of people with jaundice as well?
I also
right.
don't like
Anybody
people with
who
jaundice.
has like
Yeah.
Not a
liver
fan.
issues.
Yeah.
I always like that part about that is that like when you have liver problems, your skin and stuff does turn yellow.
Right.
Like your eyes turn yellow,
Mm.
You
and like
that?
well because in the show his eyes turn yellow and he's a liver eating monster.
Yeah.
I always thought that was like boom,
Appropriate.
there you go. It's like a
The
very
science
good.
adds up.
It's very good
One to
connecting
one.
dots
One to one.
there.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but they wrote that episode the way they were like sitting in the room and they're like, "Hey, what if some dude could like go through that
Yeah.
vent?"
They did do that. They
And
were
then
like,
that
that'd
was
be
like
weird.
that was the genesis
Because
of one of the most
as if it
iconic
wasn't
episodes.
enough. As if
Yeah.
it's not enough that he like his eyes glow and he needs livers and 5 of them for sustenance. Is that
Lives in a cocoon that he
he
makes
lives
for
in a
himself
cocoon that he
by
like
licking
paper
paper.
mache's for himself out of his own saliva.
So good.
Super great. He also can like squeeze into tiny spaces. So there's that shot of like his arms going all the way through
Hence
a vent.
the title.
Hence the title, Squeeze, and it was a 2-parter one.
Oh, that's good. Nice
that
job.
one's my favorite.
Well, they go back to the
They go
Yeah,
back
it's not a
to it.
two-parter.
It's
they
not.
kind of it's a
They
sequel.
they
revisit him.
realized they couldn't write 24 episodes.
Yeah, they were like, let's do that one kind of.
Like, we
again.
need more. Let's just bring him
Yeah.
back.
Ice is another one
Oh,
that
Ice.
people love.
Yeah.
Love
Ice is where they like go out into a polar area and they find these like these weird worms in
With
the
a
They
ice.
get, they get flown out in a helicopter.
They get flown out in a
Yeah.
helicopter.
And we're just gonna leave you here. Bye.
And
Yeah.
Felicity Huffman's
Yeah.
in it,
Yeah.
which is
there's-
crazy.
Sorkinite.
Yeah, Sorkin it.
And there's a Sorkinite in his other episode, Firewalker.
In Firewalker,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Josh Lyman.
Yeah.
Josh Lyman. Yeah, so Lion Lyman. And he also did so Beyond the Sea is the one where he essentially kills her father in Beyond the Sea.
Oh, he as in
Glenn.
Glenn kills
an old Twin Peakser.
an old Twin Peakser. And
Yeah.
then one of the other so here's the Beyond the Sea, which is the first one that really showcased like how good of an actress Gillian Anderson could be.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
because she like did stuff beyond being like, I don't believe it because science.
Well, and that also, I think that episode also showed that the X-Files could be
Like
like
anything.
emotional
Yes.
and like
Sure.
riveting and kind of,
Yeah.
you know, they could use this.
They also realized they were getting a huge deal when Gillian Anderson was making half of David Duchovny at that point in time. Like, oh, she's the better actor. And we're
We got
paying
her
her
at a steal.
half the amount. It's fantastic.
Yeah, but I mean,
It was her first
making
job ever.
making half of Mulder, considering she was a woman, that's like she's making like 75% of what she should like. There's
Sure.
it's a scale.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was the 90s.
I see what you're getting
It's
at. Yeah,
different.
that's fine.
It's
Yeah,
different.
yeah.
But what are some of your guys' favorite Glenn monsters that you recall?
I love Dihan Dif.
Yeah, however you
yeah.
pronounce it. Dihan, Verletz, I think.
Yeah, Dihan Dif.
But people pronounce it all weird. It has like witches.
Yeah,
kind of in
it's
it.
the school
Sa-
board.
Satanics.
Yeah, the school board are Satanists
Yes.
in the episode, but the like trick is that they're lapsed Satanists and they
Yes.
like haven't been praying very well.
Yeah.
And so then you think that
Casual. They're
right,
casual
yeah,
Satanists.
they're casual and they
Yeah.
like complain about it like people complain about going to church.
Yeah.
And so then you think that they're the ones doing it, but then as it goes on you find out that it's actual like Satan who has come to seek revenge on these bad followers.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is like such a cool.
such a great like X-Files.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, that's like it's such a
Comeuppance.
room like a writing room one upper, and it's
Yeah.
like, well, it's Satanists. No, it's lazy Satanists.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's good. Yes,
I'll take an outline on Monday.
Yeah. Tony, what about you? Do you have a
I mean, I
favorite?
think just because it hasn't been mentioned yet, we have to say home.
Home.
Yeah.
Yes, the one about
Yeah.
incest.
Yeah.
That one aired originally around Halloween in like '97, and then
Yeah.
it was immediately banned.
Banned from
There it is.
television.
Home, and it deals with a mother who was in a car accident that lost most of her appendages. She has like one arm left, and she's on like a board underneath the floor, under the bed, and she allows her sons to have sex with her in order to keep the family going.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we're
Was
fine
it-
with this.
Yeah. I mean,
enough.
that's a good.
I mean, that's
she's-
Let it be known, that's not what the episode's about.
That's not what
it's not
it's
like
about,
they're
but
investigating.
that's-
We've heard about
But
this
that's
one
the
armed
reason.
woman
Yeah.
under
That's
a
the
bed.
reason why they were like, and it's banned. Like,
No,
it-
it was a lot to do with the
Well, there's
fetus
also the
hand.
yeah, they buried the baby.
And they also
Baby.
have a
Baby.
really horrible murder scene in that one. That's
Yeah.
where
Really
the camera
brutal.
does not pan
Right.
away for a long time.
They also do an autopsy on a baby in a bathroom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Was
don't
it in a
really see
bathroom
it.
or was it a broom
it,
closet?
it was like a broom closet because it was
wasn't
such
there
a
a sink?
tiny
Oh, there was like
town.
it was like a janitor
Yeah.
sink.
Anyway, whatever it
Okay.
was, and it was like...
And
It
it was
wasn't big enough
really
for an
intense.
autopsy.
But
No.
but that
We're
brings
clean enough.
us.
Oh, those babies are small.
That actually
Yeah.
brings us in a good segue. Sorry, Ben. I don't care about who your favorite was.
All right, that's fine. No, that's fine. I don't care. I don't want to play this game.
It's
it doesn't
fine.
matter.
It's fine.
It's good because you're
Um,
uninvited, apparently.
Great.
Yeah,
awesome.
you're not
Yeah.
invited. You're out. But to segue into this episode, which is called Home Again, this was
And it's a
doesn't-
direct sequel
It is.
to Home.
and that's a lie. No,
All right.
it does not have anything to do with incest. Thank God.
That we
or
know
maybe you're
of.
bummed out. I don't know. Maybe you were looking forward to that. But the internet, when the internet found out this episode was called Home Again, everyone was like, "The Peacock incest family is back!" And
Because
no,
they
they're
did
not.
just drive off into the
Yeah.
They did drive up, but I would say that
well-lit woods.
this episode
Backlit woods.
backlit woods. Nothing is ever well lit in
Sure,
this film.
sure.
Did you know that the Peacock family was supposed to be an episode of Millennium,
I heard that.
and they wrote
Oh.
it. They were about to write it, and then Fox was just like,
They're like, no,
We're
no,
not
no.
touching the peacock.
You're not
We're
gonna
not,
do it.
we're not doing that. Yeah. So this one has a lot of, I think, throwbacks to Home. Like there's a lot of like shots that are similar.
Sure.
And this one was actually supposed to be episode 2. So here we go into the whole Wiggate situation again, where now Scully's hair has been parted in the middle and is a little bit lighter. And in honor of that, I did bring my own wig that doesn't match hers at all. But it is red.
It's just the wrong
It's
red
just,
in every
it's
way.
just wrong.
Yeah.
So to
Oh.
pay, I can't get it on. I'd like to give it its due. Wiggate.
Yeah.
Again, for those who don't understand what Wiggate was,
It's just
in
in case you weren't paying any attention.
Gillian Anderson's hair is like brown, kind of like mine, and she dyed it. It's blonde for the fall, and then she was going from the fall to X-Files, and she was going to go red, and then go back to blonde, and her hair was basically gonna fall out. So they were like, "You got to wear a wig." So she's wearing a wig, and this was the wig that everybody freaked out about not being
this
that
wig.
good. Not
Right.
this one.
No.
This one's also not good.
That
Yeah,
one's not a good wig
It
either.
honestly
I-
looks like.
It looks way better than once she puts
I
it
like-
on, though, right? Like
right.
then
But
It's kind of
Mary's
Uma Thurman-y
Yeah.
in Pulp
Yeah.
Fiction.
Yeah.
I like
I feel
it.
like I'm weirdly like cosplaying
episode.
Taya Leone
Yeah.
being Scully
Oh.
And-
Hollywood AD.
and
yeah.
Hollywood AD.
That's
Yeah.
a really nice layer
Yeah.
on that.
You
Yeah.
also like you look like episode 1 guest Mary McGolvin's former hair color.
Yes, my high school friend's old hair from
Current hair,
and current hair a little bit. So these episodes got flipped.
right?
I don't know if you felt like there was you
Well,
could tell.
Yes.
Well, yes, but before, I just want to say, while we were going to watch this episode,
Yes.
Catherine was all like, "Oh man, I'm so glad that they changed that part in Scully's hair. Like, it just looks so much better." And I
Yeah.
was like,
They fixed it.
I got some bad news
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
you.
Here it comes.
And that was her first comment. We were watching this episode. She was like, her part looks so bad.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so, sorry.
So
We're gonna
there
actually
you
talk
go.
about stuff now.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
that's
now we
fine.
talk about the
So these
X-Files.
got flipped, and I don't know if you guys felt like did it feel like it was not working within the flow of what they've been setting up?
I think Tully had some good comments about
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I think that, and I don't want to go too far because I know we're going to go through the episode,
Yeah.
but like a lot of the conversation between Mulder and Scully are conversations that you would have when you hadn't talked to somebody a long time, like when you're not really that comfortable with somebody where you can like just get into it. It's a
Yeah.
lot of like arm's length stuff. But like if you look at all the other episodes, they you know, especially in Founder's Mutation, like they're flirting like crazy.
Yeah.
Not like
Right.
crazy, but
And
they
Founder-
do
They're
flirt
back to it. Yeah.
in Founder's Mutation as if they have been doing it for a little while.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, go ahead.
Oh, well, I mean, Scully's mother, like, there is no scene, there's no full scene between Mulder and Scully
Without
some important information about one of their, you know, which I
That's the
guess
thing. It's like
should
it's hard. It was
let it go a little bit.
for me though. Even if this was playing it as episode 2, there's still not really like a bunch of setup as to why they're there. There is that opening shot. You see, well, it starts when that guy gets like ripped apart, but then there's them showing up to the crime scene and they show up with their badges and they're just
Camera
like,
game's changing
they're
as
just
I'm
like,
trying
hey,
Yeah,
here
yeah.
we are Mulder and Scully, and that seems very much like a hey, they're back on the job kind
Right.
of setup.
Right.
And there was supposed to be an exchange in the beginning where, and we've seen it in some of the promos and trailers that they shot, where it's like, you guys used to investigate these spooky cases, and essentially she goes no, and he goes no, and it's like, we used to, and so they took out
The
that
we
little
used
bit of
to
dialogue,
parts.
which I think still could have worked even within
Right.
now,
Right.
but there
Sure.
wasn't, to my knowledge, other things that they took out that would have made more sense about now we're back at the FBI.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think an interesting thing to talk about is, you know, if this was episode 2, this is the first X-File.
Yeah.
So is this a bigger X-File than Founder's Mutation?
Well, Founders, I think, plays within the mythology
No.
of...
No, I think that would be probably one of the really good reasons. I don't think this is that strong of an X-File at all.
Right. So
You don't think so?
A case
No,
itself.
like at the case itself
The case
or
itself,
any like.
right.
So like maybe that's part of the reason Founders.
Yeah.
Because they need a good first.
I mean,
case.
there's still a lot of hate on the internet about Founders not being that good of an X-File either.
Right.
Right, but at least it played within to some of the
Have there been
motifs that were
any
being
good
set up.
X-Files yet?
Yes, the Weremonster was super good.
But it was a good X-File.
No, it's
Yeah.
a terrible X-File.
See?
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
is it a terrible X? Why was the Weremonster a terrible X?
Because they didn't really get to investigate much. And they didn't learn anything about his behavior. Like, it might be good, but they don't know anything about it. They didn't even find out that he, like...
that it was a
yeah,
real
what
thing
is it?
till the
We
very
know.
end.
Yeah, we know that it shoots blood out of its eyes. Maybe he
Right.
said that.
And he told him his story, but he was like, "You're a person now. I don't believe you."
Yeah, so we don't. I think
I didn't think about it like that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So if it's qualifying as an X-File, but I think this had more of X-File visuals
Yeah.
in it, of like they're running around in the dark.
X-Files
And
the show.
The show.
Well, and,
Yeah.
Well, but and also, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm the horror goob
Yeah.
of like you guys.
Yeah,
but,
you are.
Yeah, but like this episode, we got some gore. We got
Yeah.
some like
It
good
was pretty
quality
intense.
shots of gore that like.
Surprising
Yeah.
for
Surprising
8
amount.
o'clock on a
I
Monday
know.
night.
They were
Right,
like,
yeah.
"Screw it."
They're like, cable can do
Yeah.
it.
So and it starts off with them trying to spray down some hobos off the street. They're like, "Get out of here! We're clearing the area." And
I really thought that was going to be way more diabolical. The
Yeah?
first time, like, I saw it and, like, I couldn't really hear what was happening. I was like, oh, this is like a government program, and they're, like, spraying the homeless with, like, some chemical
No,
that's
it's
going to
just
turn them into
water.
monsters. And it was like, no, they're just clearing them out. I was like,
"Get out of here!"
why wouldn't you just have it be monster spray? I don't understand, right? Like,
More monster spray?
Like, you could make it more diabolical. Like, I don't understand. It's just like,
Well,
no,
but-
you're just like that. We're just being mean to the homeless people. It's like,
Yes, they shouldn't be spraying them with hoses, but
Right.
like this
shouldn't they?
This literally happened in LA last year.
Sure.
Yeah, which is I'm pretty sure what he was
Yeah.
pulling
Yes.
from.
Yeah, no, that's
But
fine.
this episode was in West Philadelphia, born and
Oh,
raised on a
yeah.
playground, so I spent
Yeah,
most
yeah.
of my days. Yeah, Fresh Prince. So
No
this
one needed
happens
that.
in West Philadelphia. I thought you guys were gonna like get into it and maybe join me, but you like totally just left me on.
No,
the dry.
yeah.
No, you were doing a great. You were doing a great job.
Totally
That was
fine.
that was right. That was all
I
right.
brought enough game for myself. Okay, so it's in West Philadelphia. They're spraying down the homeless people, so it's not LA.
Right.
But
Right. 'Cause
and-
that's too
and the
far away to
guy-
drive from
yes,
DC.
The guy from Battlestar Galactica is being a dick about it,
Yeah.
and kicking them all out.
Gator.
And then his comeuppance comes pretty quick, and he gets his arms ripped off.
Yeah,
And
Admiral
we
Dama
see
comes in and like says, "No, you shouldn't do that."
Nope, that's not what
Wrong
happens.
show. Okay,
Wrong
never
show.
mind.
So his arms get like ripped off of his body like a little rag doll, and it's dark, but you can see it. And then Mulder and Scully show up. She's got the middle part. You're like, oh damn it. And then they find that they also make sure that you see a shot of him barefoot stepping into this guy's office before he kills him.
Yeah.
So he's like kind of John McClaning it a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Die Hard moment.
It's a little bit of a Die Hard homage, perhaps. No, but then he.
Headcanon.
Yeah, headcanon.
Is John McClane a trash monster?
That would be amazing.
Because he's basically a superhero.
Yeah,
We don't know that he's not.
that's
Right.
true. There's other Die Hards that will happen, and maybe the mystery will be solved.
Die Hard 6, the trash monster.
Yeah, the trash monster. So, but to your point about it being very gory, they show up on that scene, and there's like a puddle of blood, like on the
You're like,
floor,
yeah.
splattered, and there's blood like on the walls,
Yeah.
and they find the guy's like
Heads
body
in
parts.
the trash can.
One of my
Yeah.
favorite things that X-Files does a lot, and this is a pretty common like horror trope, but I mean X-Files was kind of the show that brought it to television, was you have like awful gore in the foreground, kind of out of focus when the action's happening in the
Right.
background. So you'll
So you get
see
away
like
with
this
it.
like ripped off limb,
Yeah.
like here,
Yeah.
but it's like kind of out of focus. So you're like, wait, what is that? But then they're talking in the back of the frame.
Yeah,
so it
yeah,
feels
yeah.
really good.
It was the shoulder with the arm missing. That's what it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And so as they're looking at these body parts, Mulder's looking out the window, and you actually see art on a building. I think we have an image of what that art piece was, and it's sort of like this menacing-looking creature. Yeah, sort of in the corner.
I need to go investigate that and see
Mulder's
who
like,
painted it.
yeah, Mulder's like, oh, he's just staring at it. And
Mulder's
then,
like, man, I wish I had that for my
And
apartment.
then, like, 6 minutes into the episode, Scully gets a call, and they do a psych. Oh, yeah, so here's this hobo-looking. It's, like, tagged in the corner. Okay, so then Scully gets a call on her cell phone, which is, like, giant cell phone, and it says William on it, which is a piece that everyone was like, oh, my God, William's older, and he's calling her, when people saw it in, like, clips.
No.
And then to see
Dicks.
it, and it's like, wait, what is that? And then it plays again, and you just see William Scully Jr., and you're like, oh, fuck you. Like,
Yeah.
her phone, like, glitched or whatever. It seems like maybe that's what happened, or it didn't read the full name. And so,
Or she's hallucinating.
Or she's hallucinating.
That was my first
Did you?
go-to. Yeah, that's a hallucination
Did
of
you
it.
did you guys have any?
I mean,
were
she
you like,
had a
what was that?
premonition of her dad after he died.
Right.
Like, I feel like it would be that type of situation. Like, she
Yeah.
knew something bad had happened
Yeah.
somewhere, and it triggered this, like, premonition of...
Right. Yeah. See, there it is. So it's like first it's William, and then it's William Scully Jr. Just kidding. William. Another one. William. Ah, yeah. So it's like, ha ha ha, we tricked you. And then
Suck it, fans.
Of course, and for the people who don't know, William Scully Jr. is AKA Bill Scully's brother, who is the worst.
Oh, he's fine.
He's
fine.
such a dick.
tall.
No, I'm not gonna lie.
He's such a dick. He's always been a dick. He gives her a hard time for working at the
Listen,
FBI.
if your sister
He
was
hates
Melissa
Mulder,
Scully, like
who got killed.
you have a lot. You just can't. Your
You're
patience
angry.
runs thin.
Well,
Yeah, you think she's hanging out with this weird dude who's destroying her career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who
and,
did?
and who like basically got her abducted, made her childless, gave her cancer. So I understand Bill, but chill
Kind of a
out.
dick, yeah.
He's still kind of a dick about it.
Still kind of a dick.
Still
Don't
kind of
remember
a dick.
Charlie at all, though.
And he's
Charlie's
Charlie
almost
is
never
her brother
mentioned.
that's never been on the
Yeah.
show.
Right.
So and
But
they
like, have they ever made passing mention of him?
yes.
Okay.
So then she finds out her mom's in the ICU. She had a heart attack. And even though it's so weird that her brother's in Germany and they find the mom's phone and then call her from the brother in Germany, like, just call Scully.
I know, like, yeah.
She's got to be in the
But
Faves
then they
5
couldn't do.
plan, right?
Then they couldn't do the whole William thing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess so. So then they have that Scully Requiem for a Dream shot where
Yeah.
she has a camera on
The
her
steady
clearly
cam
and
in
it's
the
supposed
front.
to show her like, oh, I don't know what's happening.
I'm so freaked out.
I'm freaked out.
What's going on?
What's going on?
Yeah.
And then she got in a
My
car
emotions are running
and
high.
drove like that all the way to DC.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
They don't
totally
show it.
irresponsible
They don't
and
show it.
fucked up,
they don't show it.
right? Like
could've
that's like the
Ubered.
one thing they tell
She
you not to
could've
do.
Ubered.
Coulda Ubered.
She
From
could've Ubered.
Philadelphia, you think the FBI is paying for that? My tax dollars are not paying for that.
They're also
He's
paying
very
for the
mad.
X Files.
Yeah, so your
Yeah, but
tax dollars
that's
are
all
paying
right.
for it.
I'm okay with that.
So that okay, but a woman trying to get to her mother.
Can't.
How much is
He's
that
gotta
Uber
put his
gonna
foot
be?
down.
Okay, she just could not
Several
expense it.
$100s.
I'm
Several
sorry,
And
does
she
her
can
mom
cover it
work for the
herself.
Fed? Why am I paying for this?
Because she's an FBI.
You're not.
Why are
no
you
one is
assuming-
paying for it.
She's asking for reimbursement.
Oh,
for
you
the
think
Uber
she paid herself?
trip. Yeah.
She's a medical doctor. I don't know if you guys know that.
She's
Working
makes-
working
she
on
makes
a
money.
government salary.
But
Just
before
now.
that,
Before that, she
yeah.
was at the
She's got
the
money.
hospital.
Oh,
of
the
Infinite
hospital,
Sorrows.
the hospital that is like
Wait,
also
the-
a church.
Wait, the
the
lady of Perpetual
non-profit.
Sorrows?
Yeah, there you
Lady
go.
of
The
Perpetual
non-profit
Sorrows.
hospital.
You know
She didn't
what?
make no money
As
there,
you know,
Tony.
She could write off. She could write off almost everything she does.
This is such a huge plot point. So moving forward, Mulder
This is
looks
the
at
important part of the
looks at the
story.
art and is like, "Oh, let's figure out if someone tagged that or who
Right.
did it because it's
Because
in
it
the,
wasn't there before.
no, because it was in the near the area where
No,
that
because
guy
it
got
wasn't there.
ripped.
It wasn't there until after the murder.
Yeah.
Well, he realizes that when
And-
he's
yeah,
looking
sure.
at the footage
Yeah.
to see what
He used the enhance button,
He used the enhance button as per
Enhance.
usual.
which he didn't need to because it was just a giant white wall with no mural.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to
I can't
enhance to
tell
see
if that
there's
doesn't have a
nothing there.
mural on it. Can we
Yeah.
can we get
Can we
a
enhance
zoom in
it,
on
please?
that?
He also slams the 76ers.
Oh,
yeah.
I
yeah.
loved all the
He made a
subtle like
basketball
Philly
slam.
jokes
There was
because
a lot of
Philly
Philly hate.
sucks.
A lot of Philly
Wow.
hate. I don't know anything about basketball to hate on the Phillies, so
Yeah,
No.
well, there is just a little bit like, and I'm from that's my stomping ground. I won't mock them too much.
Yeah.
But I will say the Sixers are truly atrocious this year.
Oh.
Even as like a basketball fan,
Yeah,
I'm pretty
real
sure out of 70 games, they've won 5. They're on track to be the losingest
The losingest?
team in the history of the NBA forever.
It was funny because right
Those
before he
76ers.
mentioned the 76ers, he mentioned Tim Duncan.
yes.
And there is a conspiracy theory out there that
Is
Tim
there really?
Duncan is such a consistent player for so long because he's an alien.
Oh. I didn't know that.
Oh, so you didn't think there was any aliens in the show,
Yeah.
but
there were
was an alien in the
Tim
show.
Duncan references.
Turns
Wow.
out.
I
Tim
didn't know.
Duncan
That's a good-
alien reference.
Confirmed alien.
Yeah,
Kim
Illuminati.
Duncan,
mostly
whatever
a
his
joke,
name is.
but I'm
Well,
sure
sure.
some people
Yeah, but
take it.
Carl Sagan as a reptile overlord. I remember that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure, yeah,
So then
I
Mulder
buy
goes
it.
looking for some art, and he finds a nasty ass Band-Aid on the bottom of his shoe as he's
And he
leaving.
doesn't eat it.
Yeah, that's a really
I was very proud of
poor,
him for not eating the evidence for once.
super
Just like a
bad
little taste, like
quality control of that crime scene.
Right? Well, it was just outside the crime scene, so they're like, meh, just a
I
Band-Aid.
think
Yeah.
the whole building is the crime scene.
no,
how
it's just the
crime
room
scenes
where
are.
the
This is
murder
why-
happens.
This is why you're not an FBI.
Yeah, this is
I
why
guess
you
so.
don't
That's
work
your
for any law
quality.
enforcement,
Philadelphia,
Tony.
yeah.
Good.
Which, by the way, one of my favorite things that happens, it always happens, and I always look for it.
Yep.
They have to justify their jurisdiction there.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's always a line that
Yes.
somehow
It's like,
justifies
but
their
we're
jurisdiction.
the FBI.
It's a murder of a federal employee,
Yeah.
so we have jurisdiction
I
here.
guarantee you in the first draft that guy didn't work for HUD.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, no.
But then he had to work for
And
HUD.
then he had to work
that's
for
it.
HUD. They were like, we need it.
Perfect.
So then we go to the emotional backbone of the story where Scully visits her mom, and Maggie, aka
Emotional
Margaret
backbone.
Scully, is in a coma like Scully was back in
All those times ago.
One
And
breath.
if you didn't remember, they showed you.
They did show you.
I know they did.
It was a
which
little.
was-
It's a little jarring
It's a little jarring
because he is so young in that.
He being
Yeah.
Fox
David-
Mulder,
David
Duchovny.
And there is an image of Scully from that scene. Well, there she is with her mom, but there is an image that I took of Scully in her coma, and she's like has all these.
She hasn't aged
tubes
that
and
much.
stuff.
She still looks real
She
good.
hadn't really aged that much.
She still looks real good.
But
What?
so she's
But she was-
yeah. So
she-
there's
Hey, look,
Scully
like right there.
from One Breath.
Right.
The
And
only-
she's hardcore baby bump at that point.
She's yeah, and that's the tighter image of her. But there's wider shots of her from that episode, and her
Oh,
boobs are enormous.
I remember that
Because she just
shot.
had a kid,
Ridiculous,
and
yeah.
so she's in a coma.
That
So that's
is
just Gillian Anderson taking a
ridiculous.
nap after having a baby,
Well,
Yeah.
basically.
Because she's in
Being
the boat.
paid
The next
for
scene,
it.
she's
She's
in
in
the
a
boat.
boat.
She's
yeah.
on a boat.
And they had to
She's on a
like. She was
boat.
literally 6 days after giving
Yeah,
birth.
and
on
had to be on a boat, which is
Well, and they had
probably
the
a nightmare.
But they had the pillows.
They had
for
a
her.
really decorative
Yeah.
pillow that
Yeah.
she was sitting up against. So heaven is like a pretty cool place with boats and decorative pillows.
Yeah,
turns
like
out.
little rowboats.
I've seen
and
the Robin
decorative
Williams movie.
pillows.
Yeah, I've seen it. So then
With Cuba.
this nurse comes over and is like the biggest bummer of a nurse because she's just
Yeah.
like, hey, just so you know, are you like related to her? She's like, yeah, I'm her daughter. And she's like, cool. She asked for someone named Charlie, like a lot. And Scully's like, did she ask for me, like Dana or anybody else?
Or
She's like,
anybody
"No,
else who pays attention to her in her
literally
family.
nobody else,
Hmm.
just someone named Charlie.
Yeah.
Do we-
Sorry about it.
Yeah. Do we know if Margaret was just watching Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
We don't know anything.
We
We don't know.
We don't know.
I do
Anything can be
like how the
speculation.
nurse was like, she didn't ask for me or like anybody else in the family and like list off, and the nurse was like, yeah, I'm not trained for this, I'm out. Like it just like walked
she's
out.
like, nope.
She's like,
I mean,
no,
gotta
I'm
go.
out of
The
here.
nurse could have been nice and lied about
Right.
it. She
To
could
the
be like,
point-
no, yeah,
No, people-
totally.
you don't want that.
For
The
sure
next
talked
time you
about
see the nurse, she is literally just picking up medical waste.
Yeah,
In the
that's
background.
true.
She's
That's
just
true.
picking up.
Yeah, she's
But
got
there-
she's
I
got
don't
no
wanna
training.
talk to
She's got
people
no
ever
training
again.
for this.
Yeah.
But there is that one beat where Scully's like, she's calling back to the one breath moment of knowing that where she is and she's in this coma and I've been there before, and she's like, I know that Ahab, her father, is there, and Melissa, who has also been killed, is there, and then she lists like people that are still alive, and she mentions William, and it's kind of like a glitch in her brain, and then it's like also Charlie, the guy you asked for, like,
Yeah.
but it's sort of like
This is somewhat of an FU.
it was kind of an FU.
Yeah. It's like, fuck you, Mom. You know how expensive that Uber was?
Right, exactly.
I got
Just
all
say
the
my
way.
fucking name.
Luckily, I'm gonna expense it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank God.
Suck it,
Yeah.
American.
Mark and Ben.
Yeah. So then,
I'm gonna put your name specifically on the receipt.
Yeah. Make this one out to my mom. She won't pay for it.
Yeah.
So then Mulder meets the angry people that are doing the politics, and this is where we get into a little bit of the political POV of what's happening with the homeless.
And you
where-
immediately know who's going to die.
Oh yeah.
Right.
You're like, oh, cool. These people are
Well,
awful.
you knew from the first Menchie,
Guess what?
like that guy eating Menchies in the
Yeah,
first
yeah,
scene, like,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
he's clearly gonna die.
Menchie's. He was just souping it. I think he was eating soup.
No, he's mentioning it. But
No, it's
but
definitely
again,
frozen
definitely
yogurt.
frozen
yogurt.
He was looking for.
The
He was
devil's
watching
food.
his
Yeah.
watching his
Frozen
waist.
Go to Menchie's, and Menchie's, pay me for this plug.
this is another horror film trope, is
Yes.
that when you're introducing characters who are going to eat it, you make them as unlikable as possible
Sure.
so that the audience looks
Yeah.
forward to their
And
their
the
demise.
lady, I have
Thanks,
a picture
Mark.
of the lady. Her name was
You're welcome.
Nancy,
I'm really
and
glad
she looks like
you're
the
here.
most person named Nancy
Oh
ever.
The
There
Nancy
she
is
is.
Oh, yeah.
The Nance pants over here. She like just so like a put upon woman who's just sort of like, well, I don't want the homeless in my area because there are women and children there and they might ruin everything. That's pretty much what she sounded
Yeah.
like.
I cannot imagine
Right?
differently.
But it
Yeah.
was like,
And then go ahead.
cool, because it was at the first scene, she's like trying to defend the homeless, like, oh, you can't put them in that place, it's
Yeah.
not a good place. And
Yeah.
then the second scene, she's like, you can't put them in the place, it's not a good place, and it's really close to the school that my kids
So-
go to. So,
So gross. No.
that can't happen.
Ew,
Yeah.
gross.
Ew, gross homeless people. Get out of here. Yeah, there's this guy too. So
This guy
Mulder's
was the
talking to the
best.
two of them.
I
He's talking to
love that
Nancy,
guy.
and
That
this
guy
guy
was
named
fed.
Landry is the other guy. And the two of them are bickering, and she calls him a douchebag, and it was a generous use of douchebag because they said it again. It was like, oh, he's a
Yeah.
douchebag. All right, cool. And then Mulder's like, okay, I see that his point of view was that he just wanted them to go into like an old hospital, which was near the school. So he was trying to get them at least off the streets. But he also wanted them off the streets so he could build up the area and like gentrify it.
Oh, yeah, well, in fact, that's explicitly stated.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to build a 10-story combo and begin gentrification.
Here.
That's how it
Yes.
works.
So then
Input gentrification coins.
Yeah.
It's like, cool. All right.
Doop doop. There you go. Now it's
Boop, 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 boop.
Silver Lake. So then Mulder's like, okay, I get you, and I get you, and I get that you're both selfishly wanting your own things. And then he's like, who speaks for the homeless guys? And then
And then the Lorax appears.
the
and
homeless
then Dr.
guy,
Seuss is
this homeless guy who's like chilling out.
on a
Yeah,
dumpster.
he's like,
On the
it's
dumpster,
an
he's like-
against
he's like,
dumpster, it ain't no
The
thing.
what is it called? The Band-Aid Nose Man. And Mulder's like, huh? That sounds weird. Like, what was that?
I
Tell me-
found a Band-Aid
Oh.
in the crime scene. What
Do
do you
tell
know
me
about
more.
this Band-Aid nose man?
The one thing I will say is a super bummer. Throughout the episode, all the homeless people that they feature, or people that are like stealing things or whatever, are all black or a minority. And I was like, well, that's a bummer.
I mean,
be fair,
Glen
though,
Morgan is an old white
Have
man.
you been to
know.
West Philadelphia?
I haven't
'Cause
been
I haven't.
for a while.
only in the intro section of
Yeah.
Fresh Prince,
Yes.
which is the same demographic as these
Yeah.
ruffians
Right.
in the show.
I think
Yeah.
it's really convenient that the guy's name happens to include the one like piece of evidence that Mulder found. He could have also been called like giant hulking trench coat beast or
Yeah,
whatever.
or the
but,
trash
like-
man.
Or
I guess
that
that's the
they
guy.
also
But
have, but there is a branding issue because he is also known as the Trash Man. They call him the Trash Man.
no, the trash
later.
man is the artist.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I
still,
think it's his last name.
it's
It's Trashman.
yes,
Yeah.
Trashman.
Oh, and that's why he has the
Spaceman.
web. He has the web tattoo on his head
Right.
because it's a yarmulke.
Oh,
Yes,
got
yes,
it. Yes,
yes,
Trashman.
yes.
This is trash.
He's
Trash.
Trashman.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that,
Trashman.
Mark.
Yeah.
So then moving on, we go back to Scully and the sadness saga of her and her mom. And
Sadness.
the
saga.
sadness saga. Then Scully has that flashback to One Breath, I believe. Or she's just sitting there. I can't remember if it's another flashback.
There's a lot of
There's a lot of flashes in this.
Yeah.
So
Flashbacks really don't happen again until later in the episode.
she's sitting near the bed, and then she straight up, like, steals her jewelry. And she finds this, like, pendant in it that's like a quarter. And that is also the source of what everybody thought was a ring that Scully was wearing around her neck. So that Ringgate, like Maggie Scully, is dead because it was just a pendant that she was wearing.
What was the year on the quarter?
I couldn't see it.
It was of no significance. She mentions that.
Well,
I kept
she
assuming,
couldn't figure out what it was.
I kept assuming it was gonna be like 2000. It was gonna be like William's date of birth.
No. Actually, Scully
There's
says.
no-
Actually says
Scully
it.
She says
in-
there's no significance. It's none of our.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also a very selfish point of view. It's like it's not my birth. It's not Melissa's birth. It's not Bill's
Williams.
birth. It can't possibly be any other date other than those because those are the most important dates of my mom's life. It's like Jesus, Scully.
Your
She
mom-
fucking had a life outside of you. Clearly.
She was a mother, but she was also
a woman.
So.
Sensual and
Yeah.
sensitive.
All right. So then Bill calls and is a dick again. He's like, well, is Mom going to die? Because I don't want to have to fly from Germany, basically, to go and see her.
Yeah, if she's not gonna die.
And she's like, I don't know. And she says, of course,
I'm a
which if
medical
you have
doctor.
a bingo. Well, I'm a doctor, but I'm also her daughter. I'm not going to tell you if she's going to die or not. And Scully watches someone die, basically, and gets wrapped up in this, like, yellow sheet. It looks like a super bummer. And then
is.
It is.
Mulder takes the magic
Yeah.
Band-Aid. Mulder takes the magic Band-Aid to get analyzed.
Yeah.
And they're like, we don't, it's
There's
not
nothing
here,
on it.
and
It's
it's also
so
not
magic.
Here.
It's clearly covered in goop,
Yeah.
Right.
but there's no goop on here.
Well,
Yeah.
because science said so.
that
Yes.
could have really used a line where he just goes like, because it was very confusing. Because it's like, well, there's no organic matter, but there's no non-organic matter.
Yeah.
Like, I really wanted Mulder to have a line there, and be like, I really fucking need Scully for this.
Right.
What the
Right.
fuck does that mean?
And then you cut to Scully being the most doctor back in the hospital going,
Right.
should we be giving my mom this stuff when she's like has a living will? And they're like, record scratch. She actually doesn't want this. She changed
Again,
her will.
here's another moment where they could have had a darker, sinister
Yeah.
aspect of it. It's
They
like
talk
it
about-
got signed by 2 retired Navy guys. Also, evidence that Maggie Scully had a life outside her kids. She's been single a long time. 2 older gentlemen in a nursing
But
home
her
with her.
family was naval.
You know,
They were all naval people. Like
I
her
know.
husband
Saying-
was a Navy
I'm
guy.
saying that those men used Viagra and were
Oh,
double
boy.
teaming her.
Okay. That
This
sounds
just
like
went
a
a different-
conspiracy
That's what I'm
theory
saying.
I don't want to be involved
Okay, but hold on.
in.
I do have one follow-up question.
Yes.
about
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
What does the quarter have to do with that?
Still nothing.
That's what they paid. That's what they
That has
paid
nothing
her.
to do with any of
That's
that.
what they paid her to do.
Okay. All right.
Nope, I negate that. Okay, so then the art gets stolen, and the 2 guys who steal it, well,
Are
first it looks like
minorities.
he jumps off the painting, essentially, because the painting is there, and then it's rickety, and he gets off, and you think, oh, cool, he comes alive from the art, and then he kills them. He rips the shit out of that one guy. We have a frame of that where he rips him,
Super
and
fatality.
you have an arm, and then you have a head and like a spine.
The spine.
Hanging, and it's like, oh, that's intense. Yeah, there it is. He's like,
Yeah.
don't steal art.
Stop getting rich off the
Why is he
homeless.
putting things in the trash?
Because he's a
Because
trash
he's
man.
the garbage man.
Yeah, he's the trash,
Trash man is copyright, so he had to, and his friend.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Scully's back at
That's
the
how it is.
hospital.
Thanks.
She sees William again on her phone, and then but it's Mulder calling, and he's there,
I'm here.
and he's like, I'm here.
That's
and
from
she's
the
like,
trailer.
Great.
Moving for that one for a while.
And then the homeless are getting moved, and Nance Pants is not having it.
Yeah.
She's like, no,
She's
you
got.
can't.
I've got an
I
injunction.
got an injunction. They can't go to that place. Blah blah blah. And she leaves, and you're like, oh, she did. Then we have another parallel to Home, where Mulder and Scully are talking on a bench, and there's a shot that I have of the 2 of them talking from Home. Yeah, there it is. And then there's the direct.
yeah.
So it's like boom,
Yeah.
boom. Yeah. So and he
Very.
purposely tried to mirror that. I mean, he was directing it, so.
It's his baby.
So-
And
Whatever.
Mulder, of course, being Mulder, is like talking about the case. And then Scully's like, yeah, but about this quarter.
Right.
Also, my mom's dying.
She's like, my mom's dying. That super blows. And she asks for Charlie. Like, what the fuck? They're estranged. Like, what's going on? Why does she care about her?
and nobody can explain to Scully, like, sometimes when you're dying, like, you want to see the people you haven't, like,
Seen
like
in a
who
while.
You want to let them know that you're
Well,
not angry
we
with
are
them
also-
anymore.
We're
Yeah.
one scene away from Scully basically
freaking out.
Trying to have sex with work.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
need to
true.
work.
It
And
needs
she was
to
like
work.
Halle Berry in Monsters Ball.
A little
It was
bit.
uncomfortable.
A little bit, yeah. And they go to take the tubes out, and Mulder stops her, and she's all like sad because she doesn't know the mysteries of like her mother's life, basically.
Sure.
And
And the two men.
Yeah. Then we go to Nancy's house, and we hear
Who knows?
downtown. We hear downtown.
So this was a pretty
when
cool
you,
scene.
Life will always go.
And as soon as it started playing
downtown.
And a big homage. to
loud,
Big homage to home.
you were like, "Oh yeah, no, okay, I know what's
She's
about to
dead.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Isn't
gonna be
that
good."
a thing in film where you play a happy song to like a messed up scene? Isn't there like a term for that?
Yeah, I mean, can we call it Scorseseing? I guess.
I mean,
That's-
I guess
but
you could.
but yeah, it's
I'll
I'm
allow
sure
it.
there's a word for it, but
Yeah.
but Scorsese kind of popularized that.
And he
that
shows up
movement.
again, like whenever he shows up, there's like a weird smell, like the lighting goes out, and
Yeah.
you like hear awful, you like smell awful shit, and he just shows up and then he basically kills
Well,
you.
he is awful shit.
He is awful shit. Yeah.
Seen that
and
one
then he
before in
climbs
the
back
X-Files.
into the garbage. He climbs back in just like at the brothers
I
at
love,
home.
yeah,
Who's
I love,
driving
I
that
love
dump
how
truck?
like
Right.
cozy
That-
he
that
is when he
dump
gets
truck.
into the
He's
dump
like,
truck.
and bye.
He's like, and I'm in the dump truck.
Yeah.
again."
So then Scully basically calls Mulder a dark wizard in the hospital,
Oh,
I
yeah.
love that.
which is a great scene.
That was nice.
Nice
And
flirtation.
her shirt is so fucking open. If we have a shot of her
It
sitting
is.
there,
It
It's,
is.
it's like Scully.
I don't know what
damn
you're
girl,
talking about. I
you're in the
didn't
ICU.
One more button is all you need on that
Right.
one. Like
There it is.
seriously,
She's
it's
like, "Oh,
just
my mom's
it's
dying.
like,
What up?"
hello.
Yeah.
And then the shirt has a pleat on it,
Yeah.
so it looks like she's got them hard nips all the time
Yeah.
too. And you don't wear that to work. She went to a crime scene dressed in that.
Inappropriate, Scully.
Right? It's just
Inappropriate.
not like what you should do.
You're mourning.
It is not.
Well, I mean-
this is not a lesson we should be teaching
The air
the
conditioning
women
in
of
most
this
ICUs,
generation that
like,
that's
her
how you
nips
go
are
to
probably
work
hard
to
anyway.
impress
Yeah, that's
people.
true.
It's pretty cool.
Disgraceful.
So then Charlie calls in the speaker. Her mom wakes up for a second, and her mom does like a 1-2 punch of like, "I'm awake," and she holds Mulder's hand, and then she's like, "My son's named William too," and you're like, "Oh my god!" And then she dies,
And then she
and you're like,
dies.
"Blah!" And then Scully's like, "Blah!" And so then they're like, "Anyway,"
Anyway, I gotta go to work now.
then
Okay.
Scully starts
Hey, but about
freaking
this
out.
Hey,
Flashman
you notice
thing.
how we're like 36 minutes into this episode and we haven't really done anything with the
With work.
case?
Yeah.
So
Well, she is always.
Let's quickly solve
She's
this.
Yeah,
always
let's-
gone back to
let's
work.
go do this.
She's always gone back to work, but it definitely was a moment that I think was kind of heartbreaking of her just being like, I can't be here, I can't deal with this right now, like, I just need to work, and she leaves, and Mulder's
Yeah.
like, ugh.
I don't know.
But
You have
you
to
were
have the rest of the
uncomfortable?
TV show.
Yeah, you gotta get to it.
Yeah.
And she's all over it in the next scene. They're like, oh, there's some paint that you can find at a place, and she's like,
like,
this
"Got it."
place?
Yeah.
And then
Cell phone
Then
done,
they
let's
follow
go.
this guy, and he's got a gun, and she takes him out like immediately. And
Oh,
you're like,
that was
oh,
awesome,
Scully is
yeah.
super back at
But
work.
I think her being back at work plays better with this as episode 2.
Yes.
You know, because it's like she wants to propel herself into this and not have to think about all the stuff going on in her actual life.
I agree, and I feel like, and now I wanted the 1, 2, 3 because there was 1, which was, bad episode, and then 2 would be like Scully finding herself back at work in her emotional ways, and then
Yeah.
3
Right.
would have been Mulder finding his groove back at work.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
Right,
and
that's
so then
true.
like
Yeah.
episode 4 would have
Was-
been like,
And that would have made a
Two
lot
of
of sense
them.
of why she was so like on serial killer, like
Yeah.
takedown duty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
right?
right,
Where it
right.
even
Right.
makes more sense,
And then-
like where
well,
she's
then-
like, I already know who did this. I'm gonna go take
And
care
there's
of it.
even more of the parallel when they're talking to the guy who actually made everybody. Which first he's throwing in the idea that it's a pulpa, he calls it, which is like
Tulpa?
a tulpa, whatever it is. It's a lot like the
Tulpa.
episode Kaddish, where there was like a guy that was made out of mud, and also like Arcadia, where there was
Yeah.
literally also a monster made of garbage
Yeah.
that killed
Right.
people.
This is a double rehash.
A
But
little bit.
When
that
it
had
comes
Dauber in
from-
so.
Yeah, but this guy kind of felt like he was making art, and he created out of his anger for what was happening to the homeless
Right.
this monster that then killed the people directly.
And also a
related
bunch of
to
like
those
creepy
people.
tunnel
Which pulls in a little
people.
bit of grotesque.
Yes, a little bit of
Yeah.
grotesque with like the making. I also love that he thought I'll put a Band-Aid on the nose to hold it.
Yeah.
And then he loses that Band-Aid constantly.
Isn't that
Right.
sad that he keeps
Keeps losing his Band-Aid.
and like the guy's
His
known as
trademark
Band-Aid
thing.
nose man, and
Right,
like
and then his
he didn't
nose-
even want it. He
right.
didn't even need the Band-Aid.
But there are these flashes
Sad.
that keep happening with her seeing and making the connection to like making and creating something with William,
And
which
then letting it into the universe and letting it and not taking responsibility for it. So
which
deep.
is the survivor's like adoption guilt of giving
think-
away a child.
I think I would have been quite fine with that scene, even the like dialogue, if they just didn't keep cutting back in like sepia
seeing
tone
it.
to like get it. Yeah.
To me, that is very
Oh,
much like a
yeah.
network thing. where
Yeah,
they're like,
and
we
that-
need to make sure, and even the scene we just saw like 10 minutes ago, we got to put that in
Flashback.
sequence.
But
Yeah.
even that,
Like,
like,
didn't I
the
just see
stuff that
Maggie
was
die?
like really old had like this like haze around
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
even more like we only want to show the center
they
part of the
could've-
scene,
like,
like,
they could've-
and then like the more modern stuff is full screen. And it's just like
Well, that's also a problem that they didn't have.
Yeah,
remasters.
they didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. They're like, sorry, we didn't think we'd be back on TV 14 years from now.
sure.
But they
It's
do. They do
in
have the
4:3.
HD masters.
They do have the HD. Thank
Um,
God. Yeah.
Yeah, like it just seems. It seems unnecessary. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't help me, somebody who is an avid fan, and it doesn't help a casual fan who like.
I
It's like,
think
oh,
the casual
old things
fan,
happened.
it lets you
Right,
kind of know,
yeah.
and this is, the whole revival feels more networky to me than it
Yeah.
ever did before, because they have all these things that they're really throwing at you pretty hard to make you remember
Yeah.
this and remember that thing, and to me I'm like, yeah, but the X-Files never really held anybody's hand in the storytelling, and I feel like they've had the network pressure to make sure everybody
Which
knows
you
what's
think-
happening.
But yeah, I would say that would probably be somebody, if with it being on Netflix, if somebody's watching it from scratch from the beginning. There's a bunch of times where like there's so much time between
Yeah.
mythology episodes. You're like, who the fuck is that?
Right.
Like, who are these guys?
I get that, but the people who are watching it that came back don't need a rehash
Sure.
of
Right.
what happened to William.
But you'd think
And the
in
people who haven't
2000
seen it aren't getting it from that clip
You
anyway.
think
Yeah.
in 2015 we're so far away from needing to hold people's hands that much?
We're in 2016.
Yeah.
Well, but
Even
written in
more
2016.
so
Written
in 2016.
Tony doesn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
so-
go by.
What
the,
year is it?
But to
The
play
Mayan
into
calendar.
the idea of switching those episodes around, if this is more of the Scully gets her groove back in some way, and then Mulder gets his groove back in the next one, Founder's Mutation, now this can feel out of order because they were actively
Yeah.
talking about William together, and
Yeah.
this she's having flashbacks, but they're all internal. Like she's
Right.
not talking
Right,
about
right,
it,
right, right.
and so it feels a
doesn't talk
little
about it
bit
till
of
the
a
end.
reverse step to have her going from, hey, do you remember our son and do you think about him, to now being like, I'm super thinking about our son by myself in my head. You know what I'm saying?
No, it makes perfect
But I
sense.
will say
yeah.
this: so Founder's Mutation, again, as an X-File, is like all about, like superhuman genetic powers.
Yes.
Where this is more of a
Like monster. Yeah.
And so it makes a little more logical sense for that one to be second.
Yeah, as a
because
monster
because
thing.
Mulder can still be filled with doubt. Like after this episode,
Yeah.
Mulder should have no doubt. Like he just saw
Right,
something
right.
completely supernatural.
Right. Yeah, that's true. So then
They never actually. They don't see the Band-Aid man at all.
Yeah.
they don't really, but they do actually hear the guy Landry who's next. That
Sure.
they figure if the MO stays, this
Yeah.
guy's the last guy is gonna go. And then this guy is in the hospital putting the homeless people away, and he is like, "Oh, there's a bunch of maggots and like goop on the ground. I'm just gonna follow."
I mean,
this
he was
into
already
the dark."
too deep into that point,
Like,
right? He came in from
idiots.
behind him anyway, so
You're
it's
right.
not like if he had turned around, he would have gotten out. It was
He has
just.
this flashlight phone, which I appreciate them using the flashlight. Phone.
It is
And it
appropriate for them to finally be like, oh, people carry this thing around with them.
Yes. And to Mark's point, it looked beautiful with the light.
Yeah,
I think.
it was really cool because it had the traditional X-Files lighting of like from a flashlight, but then you also get the excuse to like illuminate
Yeah.
the
The face.
person's
'Cause he had the
face,
light.
'cause he
Because
had the
it has
light
it
on
on
the
it.
phone back.
Yeah.
So it looked good. I thought it looked very,
So they're all running to try to catch this guy before he gets killed, and they, in a classic kind of X-Files move, are too late.
always.
Right.
And they're like, "Where the hell
And
did
there's
he go?"
no evidence of
if
anything.
Well,
wasn't
there's no
there?
matter
There was a
for it.
Band-Aid. There was a Band-Aid though, so it was kind of the calling
we all
card was
knew.
left.
So
of
how
the
many
Band-Aid.
Band-Aids does he have?
He's got
Every
a
time
lot
he
of them.
respawns, he
Yeah,
gets a
there's a new
Band-Aid.
Band-Aid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, is it an actual is it part of the respawning process? There's a Band-Aid.
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
Like, he doesn't have.
It
like, a
starts
box of
from a
Band-Aids?
point, a point in space time that becomes a Band-Aid, and then everything else forms around.
I
the
would really
Band-Aid.
love for him to
He's
have
a
like
scientist.
yes,
Yeah.
that's science.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
science
yeah,
fact.
yeah.
I
But
feel science.
I would really love for there to be like he had like the Flintstone Band-Aids, like so they're really
yeah.
cute,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
cute and fucking gross. Yeah, I would like that. But so this X-File winds up being kind of unsolved in that they don't
It's like a very
stop
typical.
him,
Yeah,
They
and
right.
he just
Try.
kills people.
The murders all end because he accomplished his goal.
Yeah.
Right? It's like,
That's
oh,
it.
it's like,
and then,
alright.
but then you see the image on the wall as the artist guy is leaving.
Yeah.
So I'm like, is it over or is
Well,
it
he
he
following
could just be
him?
he could just be living there.
The idea being, I think that he is still there to watch over
Yeah.
the
The homeless.
The
The
yeah, the
homeless,
homeless
as like
and
their angel.
if someone else tries to mess with the homeless or spray them with fire hoses or monster
Right.
spray.
Monster
I'll be
spray.
here. So then the whole emotional wrap up is Scully at the funeral with her mom, and it's the same kind of
Just a
beach
log
look.
with
It's-
a urn.
Yeah, and
Not
it's
a
interesting
funeral.
that people were calling it the conversation on the log, which I think we have an image of them on the log together talking, when it's just a one-sided conversation, and Scully's
Yeah.
just telling him like
But
how
so
she
many
feels.
things in the X-Files are just one-sided.
Yeah,
conversation.
Yeah.
but it's and she's just saying how like they make the direct parallels to the fact that she had created William like this guy had created this monster.
And she didn't want him to be thrown out like
She
the
didn't-
trash.
She didn't want to, and she I think more believably says, "I want to believe that we didn't just throw him away like trash," because she's crying and it's like, ooh, that's
I
heavy.
want to believe. I
Um,
wonder where they get that
I
from.
wonder where they got that
I
from.
wonder-
Here somewhere.
It's
There,
right here?
I wanna
Right.
believe.
There we go. You got it. You got it.
Yeah, I got it. And she also calls him Fox, which I thought I would hate, but I was kind of okay with.
There
I
you
was
go.
like okay
I was
with it.
fine with it. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
She
fine.
never calls him
they've
Fox.
had sex.
Right.
Yeah,
yeah,
fine.
it's
Go with
it's
it.
his kid too.
But it's a super bummer, and she'll never solve her mysteries. She feels, and I think those are legit questions of guilt of giving away a child.
But she got to go
Like,
back
does
to
he
work right
think of
away,
me
so that's
or
fine.
anything. But the thing is, they had written that also to be second, right? So she's saying this stuff, and he doesn't respond, but he does respond in Founder's
In Founders,
mutation.
right.
So it's a little bit of a backwards flip for him to not
Yeah.
say anything to her on the log.
Yeah, you're absolutely
We're just
right.
fortunate that they don't reference the other episodes in
Right.
the in the
Yeah.
dialogue or things
I
that
know.
happen.
Well, do you
right?
remember
It was,
in Trash
Yeah,
Man
yeah.
episode?
Remember when we at the
That's
War
what I
Monster
said.
we
Yeah.
we emotionally met this level where you came into my hotel room wearing my Knicks shirt.
Yeah.
And
But she
that's
didn't.
still wrong.
But okay, so that's all we basically have for today's episode.
Yeah, yeah,
It was a
we had
super
to-
bummer.
we had
A
to
lot
start
of
a
people
little
were very
late.
teary.
Because Mick Foley was on before.
I do have a custom-made hanky that someone made me that was "fuck this, hold me," so people could cry.
Cried during this
and deal
episode
with-
while Maggie passed away.
Oh, Maggie Scully, come back to me. My name is Colleen Evanson. You can find me on Twitter at Lady Fantastic. Oh yeah, crying about it also is like the entire fandom during this whole episode. A lot of ladies crying about it. Yeah, so you can find me at Lady Fantastic. You can find the show at Alieums, ALIEUM.
After show.
After show without
no
a W,
W.
because that shit got abducted.
This is a gang
He's
sign.
yeah, I don't
for
know,
sure.
whatever.
I'm on Twitter at Deep Sea Sith.
Tony is not on.
Off the grid.
Off
Yeah,
the
yeah.
grid.
I have electricity, but
He has,
but not.
yeah, he has electricity.
Mark
so
is also
the
a
internet.
host of an awesome podcast.
Were you
What's
afraid
Your
I wasn't
Scene?
gonna? I wasn't
Yeah,
gonna
Yeah,
say
yeah,
this
I
time?
wanted to make sure.
Yeah. What's Your Scene is the name of the podcast.
Yep.
We interview people about their cool shit.
Mhm.
We have talked Harry Potter. We just tomorrow, if you're hearing this right now, you can go and download the second episode about Comic-Con, the San Diego Comic-Con, where we
Cool.
talk to David Server, who's been there 15 times in various
Cool.
capacities. Got Reddit coming up, wrestling. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. Do you
Uh,
want to tell anybody else how to find it?
No.
You can find it at if you just type "What's Your Scene"
You'll
podcast
find it.
in the Google, you'll find it. But I mean, you could do the at Twitter, which is at WYS_podcast, or just me, which is at MarcCalderaro.
Listen to that diction. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Do you think
Boom.
a lot of
All right.
people accidentally will buy the board game?
Shut up, Tony. We're out. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Don't get abducted, you guys, and we'll see you next
We'll
week.
see you next week.
Bye.